think I finally found a magic system. I like this rule very much. This is the rule of cool. So cool! It's my book! Oh my gosh. Okay, so October is here, which means it's time for Preptober. And yes, I am going to attempt NaNoWriMo again this year. I think for the 10th? Is this my 10th year? I have to check the Nano website, but I think this might be my 10th NaNoWriMo year in a row that I've done, which is quite exciting, also kind of scary. And I think during that time I've won it twice, and once was actually Cam Nano, not the official November NaNoWriMo. Before we get into the Preptober vlog, I just want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, Campfire Blaze. Since NaNoWriMo is coming up, and this is what this vlog is about, prepping for NaNoWriMo, I think this is a great opportunity to talk about Campfire Blaze and what they can offer to you writers out there. Campfire Blaze is a brand new browser-based suite of tools to help you keep your writing organized. Collaborate with friends in real time or by yourself to flesh out every facet of your story. Develop your manuscript in Blaze word processor, where you can create characters, design your plot, and even world build without restrictions. Some of my favorite features of Campfire is definitely the world building suite, where you can plan your magic systems, plan your characters, write out any magical objects that you have, languages, of course magical creatures, and anything you can think of. Campfire has a tool to help you organize this stuff. And when you're done, you can easily share your story with your friends and fans. Campfire Blaze is available as a free version, but you can also expand it by purchasing the specific tools that you need, and after that you own them forever. Or you can build a subscription so you only pay for the features that you need. Modules are as little as 50 cents, or you can unlock everything for a few dollars a month with a 30-day return policy. If you're participating in NaNoWriMo and you use Campfire Blaze to write those 50,000 words and actually win Nano, you can also win $3,000 from Campfire Blaze to self-publish that novel. So if you want to learn more about the details of this competition, check the link down in the description. Thanks again so much to Campfire Blaze for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, let's get on to the writing vlog. So if you don't know what Preptober is, you essentially prepare for NaNoWriMo, and since I'm done with the edits for Hunting Vienna, and actually my draft is now with Pitch Wars, and I have no idea what's happening with that, I will find out in November. I obviously want to work on something else because I do like to keep the momentum going, because I found out that if I take too much of a break between working on projects, there's a risk that I will never get back into the rhythm, or it will be a very long time until I do so. And so I want to work on something new, and if you've watched some of my previous writing vlogs, you might have heard me talk about a very exciting idea that I had at some point at the beginning of the year, and so that's what I'm going to attempt to draft during November. And by that I mean 50,000 words. It'll be a very small portion of that book, probably of that project, because it's a fantasy series. They tend to be usually pretty long, but I think I can write 50,000 words in November. We shall see. But I've already started planning a couple of things, just started thinking, like brainstorming ideas. Basically, I want to do that for the first few days, just brainstorm as much as I can. I do want to discovery write the book, but I should say I want to do a bit of planning and outlining and then discovering the rest. But I do like to know a couple of main things, such as who the main character is, what are their goals and motivations, why are they doing the plot of the book. I kind of know what happens, or at least the main idea of what happens, but I don't know any of the details or how it will go down. I know some of the world building, or at least I know where to look to find inspiration for some world building ideas, because it is inspired by some myths and legends, and so I can get some inspiration from that. But then I have to figure out who the supporting cast is, and basically what happens. Or like how things happen, and what the end is, what the end of the first book is, what the middle point is. Just kind of a few basic things that can guide me, because especially when you're doing a challenge like NaNoWriMo, it's very easy to get stuck. And so I like to have some guidance flags just to know where I'm headed, or alternatively some just random ideas for scenes that might be cool. And then when the time comes in November and I'm stuck for what to write, I can just flip through my ideas book and just start writing anything regarding that idea, and it kind of gives me something to jump off from. And yeah, another cool thing about writing a query recently, very recently, is that I started writing a query-like synopsis for this project, which is so helpful. It is so helpful. But that again kind of happened at 2 a.m. while I woke up during the middle of the night and couldn't fall back asleep because my brain was running at like 100 miles an hour thinking about this project. And I wrote this query in my head to kind of build up the plot, or, you know, the premise, I should say, the premise. And yeah, it's great when that happens, when you can't fall back asleep because your brain is just too fired up. But anyway, yes, this is what I'm gonna do. And so I also just want to finish this notebook because I think I have about 10 pages left of this tiny The Hobbit notebook. And then I'm gonna transfer all the notes into my Hobonichi, I think, after I'm finished with this. But yes, I'm gonna continue doing some brainstorming. The lighting is very, very red in this, but okay, so I figured out the main character and her goal and motivation, and I think I have a pretty good one. At least that can definitely pull me through the first draft, or at least the first 50,000 words, because I can always strengthen goals and motivations. I can always do that after I finish the draft and I have a better idea of how the story goes, but for now I think I have the goal and motivation pretty much down, so that's good. I still have to figure out the main character's name though. All I know is that she's female and a teenager, because this is YA. And of course I know her motivation, but that's about it. So it is Saturday, October 3rd, and I've done quite a bit of writing in this notebook. I'm almost finished with it, planning this book. So I figured out the name of the main character. I'm not gonna say it just in case I change my mind along the way, but I figure out a couple of things about the plot. What I haven't figured out is the magic system, which is obviously a pretty important part. I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling coming up with a magic system that makes sense for this world and for the idea that I have. And then I'm struggling with a few big picture questions that I know I need answers for before I start this book. Even if there's kind of vague answers, I think I need to at least know on some level a couple of these big picture questions. So a thing about me as a writer that you should know is that I like competitions in my writing. Almost every single one of my books has some kind of competition, whether it's a small thing or a big thing. That's kind of, I've realized over the years, that's kind of one of my things. I get really excited when I write some form of contest or competition somewhere in the plot. If it's the main plot or if it's like a side thing, it doesn't really matter, but for some reason I always have something like that in, and no surprise, this story also has a competition, and my issue is figuring out the purpose of the competition, like why is this happening? Because it's kind of the main plot, it's almost the main plot of the story, at least of the story that I have in my mind now, and so I need to figure out why, because I know that I want to write this competition because it's very exciting and very cool and I want to write it, but I haven't really figured out the purpose of it, and that is quite a big thing that I need to figure out because that'll definitely influence the plot along the way, and so and motivations and everything, and so I need to have at least some form of an answer for that. That's one thing. Another thing is the world in the sense of the time period. I haven't figured out yet what kind of world it is, in the sense that it takes place in a very specific location. So actually a lot of the plot will only take place in this particular location. But obviously I will probably want to expand on that at some point, and so I need to know more of the world. And obviously the world influences that location too. But I haven't figured out the sort of time period. Do I want it to be, like a medieval time or further back in time? Do I want it to be present time, but this location is then like a secret thing? So this usually happens sort of urban fantasy where the story takes place in the current modern time, but then there's, like secret societies or secret parts of the world that aren't accessible to, muggles or normal people. So that's one way of doing it. Or obviously it can be its own world fantasy where the world is loosely inspired maybe by medieval time periods or the modern world of actual real life. but it's its own fantastic world, in which case I have to invent everything, you know, like literally everything. And so I've yet to figure that part out. Because the story that I have in my head right now is a very condensed story that happens in one specific location. But that doesn't mean I can just skip over the other stuff. I really need to figure out, at least on some level, I need to figure out this kind of stuff, because then it influences this. No matter how condensed the story, it's going to influence it. And so that's something I need to figure out. And then there's stuff like I need to figure out the side characters, or at least some of the side characters, and the plot points, and just kind of like big plot points. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm going to discovery write that, but just a couple of plot points so that I have some kind of direction. But yeah, I mostly just wrote down anything that came to mind, and I've actually kind of done quite a bit of world building in that sense, so like smaller details that I think would be really cool to incorporate into the story. But I still have these sort of big questions that I really need answers to before I start. And about the magic system, dude, creating magic systems is one of the hardest things, but it's also like so fun. It's so much fun, but for this one I'm having difficulties. Like I've created magic systems before. I have another series where I really love the magic system. I think it's really unique and really interesting, and it just fits so well into the world and the story. But with this one, I'm actually having quite a bit of difficulty figuring out how this magic system works and how it's going to be used in the story and in the competition and in the world, obviously. Everything has to connect, everything has to make sense, and I'm having difficulty because all of the initial things that come to mind are like so overdone, and a lot of authors have used that kind of magic system. Or for example, channeling object, because, you know, that's another question. I'll do a whole video on like magic systems because there is so much to talk about that I cannot cover right now. But obviously you need like a source of the magic. Where does the magic come from? Is it from inside? Is it from like a exterior object, an exterior kind of energy? And if it's from inside, or even if it's from an external source, how is it channeled? You know, like, do you use wands? Do you use stabs? Do you use, I don't know, your hand signals, other objects? Like, there's so many things to think about. And this is what I've done for the past 2 days. I've just like stared into space and tried to imagine all of the craziest ways in which this magic could be channeled and used. And I still haven't come up with a decision. I have some weird ass ideas. I genuinely wrote down every idea that came to mind, no matter how ridiculous it was, just so I can have some kind of trace of my thoughts. But yeah, there's some weird stuff in here. Like I have dice as a thing. I have sense of smell. I have burning of essences. I have quick maths. So like math. I don't know. I don't even know how that would work, but that's just something that came into my head. Like I have like spice mixes. Mixing spices would create some kind of magic. I don't know. This is the kind of stuff that I'm now thinking about because I need to figure out this magic system. And dude, magic systems are cool, but sometimes they're very hard to think about if it's not. Because sometimes ideas for stories come from a magic system. So you think of a cool magic system and then you build a whole story around it. But mine is the other way around. I have the story in my head, but because it's a fantasy idea, I need magic. I just need to figure out what the magic is and how it works. And that part, if you don't really have an idea beforehand, it's a bit tricky. So that's where I'm at right now. But I still have most of this month to figure it out, so I'm hoping it will come to me eventually. I hope. I think I finally found a magic system. So yes, it is Tuesday the 6th of October. I don't think you can tell that, but yes, I think I finally found a magic system that I can work with. And to tell you the truth, I don't know how I came up with it. It just came to me, and suddenly it all clicked into place because it's something from the real world that I can assign the magical abilities to. But I'm not gonna tell you what it is because I need to work on it first more before I actually have what to say, right? But especially in case I end up changing it, I don't want to say what it is now. So far, everything that I could think of kind of clicked into place. Because although it is something from the real world that I can assign magical powers to, it also kind of makes sense how it would work. I don't know how to explain it, it just makes sense. Once I figured out what the source of the magic is, then everything kind of made sense around it. I still need to figure out how people use it exactly, and I need to figure out a few things regarding the sort of world building aspect of this magic. But I think in terms of uses and how it could be used in this competition and in the world, and I already came up with like random scenes or random really cool plot points surrounding this magic that I could put in. Yes, I think for now at least, I'm very pleased with this magic system. For now, I'm gonna go for it. If I figure out something else that might be better, then that's a different story. But for now, I think this makes sense. And it also makes sense with the location and the sort of mythology that I've built up already surrounding this place. So I'm quite pleased about that. It just suddenly came to me this morning while I was coding for my day job, and it just kind of, And then I started thinking about it more. The more I thought about it, the more everything connected. So obviously I need to do a lot more world building around this magic system. But I think I finally have it, and that is an achievement because that was one of the things that I was struggling with the most, and one of the things that I knew I needed to figure out this month, because otherwise I can't write this draft, like even a little bit. I can't write it. It's a fantasy. It has to have some kind of magic, and I have to understand what it is and how it works. That's done. I still have a couple of big picture things that I need to answer, but this is one of the biggest ones, and it's done. It is done. Okay, so today I would like to start plotting and properly world building, because up until now I've just jotted down random ideas that popped into my head, but I actually want to do it in a more organized fashion, so I have some helpers that I should talk about and just show you, because maybe it will be useful to some of you guys. Okay, so for example, I have this huge folder that I keep a lot of my stuff in. Okay, so I have this Rock Your Plot, a simple system for plotting your novel workbook, and I printed this out some time ago, and I think I'm going to use this just as a starting board, right? Like, I don't have to fill everything in, but I think it will help a little bit. And this is by Kathy Yardley Wilson. I'll try to leave a link to this. I'll try to find it and leave a link in the description if you're interested. But yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff that can help you with your plot, you know, so like overview of the plot points. But actually, this is funny because actually I think instead of this, I'll just do what I usually do, and that is the beat sheet method. But I'm sure some of these points might actually be useful to me. Do you have a message or a theme you want to explore? Right, the motivation for the plot. It's a lot of things that might just make you think about things that you wouldn't normally think about otherwise if, you know, this didn't put the question into your head. So yeah, I'm doing a bad job of showing this, but you get what I, like, you know, describe your character. I think I'm gonna try to start filling some of this up. And then I really have a bunch of random notes here. But at some point I watched, again, Brandon Sanderson's classes. And if you don't know, Brandon Sanderson actually is a professor at a university in America, and he does fantasy lectures. And he talks a lot about world building, and that's one thing that I'm very interested in learning from him because I love his world building and his magic systems. And so I took a bunch of notes. I started rewatching it at some point and just took down so many notes from his lessons. And again, I will link his lessons down in the description, because if you haven't watched them and you're a fantasy or sci-fi writer, you really, really need to. He's fantastic. Well, in general, he's fantastic, but he's also, I think you'll learn a lot. And in general, just for fiction writing, I think what he says is applicable to a lot of genres. And so, again, I'm going to go through these, because this, I just kind of wrote down notes, so this isn't applied to anything specific for my works, but that's kind of what I want to do now. So I want to go through these notes and see, okay, so how can I apply some of these principles to, you know, my world building? I think this is the, I'm sorry about the glare, but I think this is like the circle, the hero's journey. We have some magic system ideas here that I completely forgot about, actually. I like this rule very much. This is the rule of cool. Something very exciting came in the mail today, and that is my book, or the proof copy of my book. Look at this! Look at this! It's a real book! It's a real book! I mean, it is a real book, but this is a proof copy of Hunting Vienna that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I told you guys this, I was gonna do this at some point. I finally managed to do it. I filmed an entire unboxing of it and like review of what I think of the print quality and all of that. This is through Amazon KDP if you're curious, but yeah, if you want to know more, go watch that video. I will link it down below and up here in the symbol. But look at this! This is so cool! It's my book! Oh my gosh, it is my book. And I made this cover myself, but it's not going to be the actual cover of the book. It's just something I did for fun. And it came out a little bit blurry, especially on the text, but that's maybe something I can fix and export it into higher resolution than I did. But this is very exciting! Ah! And look, it like fits so well with, this is only mostly devastated. I kind of based it, you know, I made the sizing and everything myself through vellum, and again, you can find out more in my unboxing video of how I did it. But look, it's like, you know, this is a traditionally published book. This is a, well, it's an Amazon KDP proof. It's not the final thing yet, but still, I don't know, it's like, it's so cool. It's so cool. It's very, very cool. And also, look, my book in between other books. And it fits so well. Ah! You can tell I'm excited, right? Like, this is very exciting. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, and I don't know why I have not done this sooner, because it's so easy to make these proof copies. So from now on, like I said in my unboxing video, from now on, I will definitely do it for other drafts. And look at the text. So crisp. I really love the actual print quality of the text itself. The print quality of the cover is not that great, but again, that's maybe something I've done wrong because it's a bit fuzzy. But the text is nice and crisp. I love it. I love it. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's so cool. Have I mentioned how cool it is? So I'm currently sat on my desk and going through this plot workbook and trying to figure out a couple of things that I haven't yet fleshed out that much, like internal and external conflicts for the main character, and just basically taking their prompts and just going with it. Pretty sure this will help me figure out a lot of stuff that I haven't yet thought about. Okay, so it is a while later. I filmed a couple of videos and I just wanted to talk about all of this because I managed to fill in quite a bit of this workbook actually, and I think I figured out the overall arc of the first book in the series, because I do want this to be a series, and that's another thing I had to sort of figure out. Okay, so then how do I split the books in the series? And I think because of this, I actually managed to figure that out. And so I'm very happy about that. So this is really useful because it makes you think, and it just honestly just makes you actually think about the story and work on the story, and you will figure out stuff. Because as you can see, I wrote something here that was initially the midpoint, and then I realized, actually, that can be the resolution. That's why that is there. And so it made me rethink the story to how I initially thought it would end, to how it actually, well, at least now, how I want it to end. And of course, all of this can change once I'm actually drafting, once I actually discover the story as I write it. But I need something to sort of get me started and give me some kind of goal, right? Something to reach in the drafting process, and especially during NaNoWriMo, because that's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough, but I'm also very excited to finally get to it. And we have 2.5 more weeks or something until Nano, and so until then I want to figure out a couple of more things. I also did, well, I filled in a bunch of stuff, but I also started, haven't finished this one, but I started writing a little bit in the point of view of the main character, just to kind of get a general idea of her voice. But again, that will definitely be something that I will work on during the first draft, and I will find her voice during the first draft, and then in the subsequent drafts you kind of, you know, make it better. I do like to discovery write that kind of stuff. I don't like to force it, oh, she should sound like this. I kind of have an idea in my head of what she should sound like, but maybe once I start writing it, she'll sound completely different. And if that feels right for that character, then, you know, I'm not gonna force what I think it should be. What I have left is the sort of detailed explanation of every plot point that I have in here. So this is sort of a general view of the big plot points in very small, short sentences, and this kind of expands on each point. And so I can do that next, or I can just leave it this way and start thinking about certain scenes that I know I want and maybe try to expand those. Or actually something I should do is figure out the rest of the cast, because I have my main character now, and I'm pretty happy with the main character, but I still haven't really figured out the rest of the characters. So I think that's more important than this and figuring out scenes, because the characters make the scene. You can't have a scene without the characters, and I think I need to figure out more about the other characters first. So that is how this is going. I think it's going really well, actually, and I'm really happy with the story so far, and I'm hoping I can figure everything out until November. And then once November hits, I can just go, and write that first draft, and it won't be total trash. Here's hoping. So yesterday, instead of doing more outlining, I spent some time making a Pinterest mood board for the story, which I did intend to do at some point anyway, and so I think that was fine. Should have maybe done a bit more outlining, but anyway, let me show you the mood board, because I think it's quite cool. Okay, so this is my mood board. I didn't organize it just yet, so I'm just showing you sort of, you know, what it looks like, but as you can see, it is very creepy, and that was the main goal. Oh, that's it. Okay, so I need to add more, definitely, but obviously this is just something to get me inspired and something that I can look at for inspiration or to describe things if I don't really know what I'm trying to describe in some scenes, and just general sort of inspiration and mood. And I think it's fun to do this kind of stuff, especially when you're planning a book and when you're writing the first draft, just to give you that extra bit of motivation and inspiration, because I know we really need it sometimes. I've been there where I could really use something like this, so I'm glad I made it before I started writing. So yeah, that's my tiny little mood board for this work in progress, and I'm gonna keep adding to it once I find, you know, stuff that fits the imagery and the mood. But yeah. Okay, so today I have a task of finding out what point of view I should use for the story, at least the first book, and for the main character. And by that I mean present tense first person, or past tense first person, or past tense third person. There are a lot of options in today's publishing, and especially in YA, first person is very prevalent, even in fantasy, but usually a lot of stories are told in third person past. That's kind of the most generic way, and it's generic for a reason, because it feels like a story being told to you, which, you know, makes sense. But I really like writing in first person, and I think first person just adds that immediacy and that connection to the main character that you can't really get with third person. You can get close, but it's not quite the same. And so I'm trying to sort of look at my competition, or in any case other YA fantasies, what the consensus is. So I'm just gonna go through, you know, some books that I've read, some that I've not read. For example, Shadow of the Fox, this is his third book, and the Shadow of the Fox is first person past. We have Skyward here by Sanderson, and that is first person past. Already, there's a trend. This is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and this is third person past. This is particularly important because this is pretty much my direct competition. And this is first person past. The Court of Miracles, first person present. Blood Air, third person past. I haven't kept a tally, but there were 2 third person past tense and the rest were first person past tense. Dangerous Remedy, third person past tense. Okay, I think that is enough of a tally. So it's basically most of them are first person past tense, while some are third person past tense. So first of all, the tense is pretty clear, it has to be past tense. But whether it's first person or third person, I think kind of depends on the style. Right now, I prefer first person. So I think what I'll do, since there doesn't seem to be like a clear, winner, this is how you do it, which I didn't think so, but I just wanted to check, then I think I will try a chapter sample of my main character in first person and one in third person, and just see which one fits better, which one comes easier to me. Of course, that'll change also when I find her voice better, but I think for now I'll just write like a few pages in first person, a few pages in third person, and just figure out which one I like better. So yeah, that was a good exercise. We have learned something. Okay, so it's a couple of days until Nano starts, and the last thing I think that I'm doing to prepare is I started making some scene cards. So I have like a few cards here with scenes. There's like a bunch of scenes on each one, front to back, just because I don't want to waste paper, so there's not like just one scene on each, there's multiple on each. So then I can have like a stack of scene cards that I can go through and use sort of every day to know what I'm gonna write. And, I think this is the last thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep adding things to this if I come up with any other scene ideas that might be fun or that might make sense. So I have like one with like extra scenes that aren't necessarily needed for the main plot but might be fun to write. And anything that is fun to write is a good incentive to actually write and put down the words, so I might need things like this during Nano to keep me going. But I think that's everything that I'll do for now, and then just hope that this is enough to carry me through the entire month and the entire 50,000 words. We shall see. Right now, I think I'm pretty happy with the prep that I've done so far, and I think it's enough to carry me through 50,000 words. Okay, it is exactly one day before NaNoWriMo starts. It is October 31st, and as you can see in the background, I'm watching the League of Legends Championship Finals, and while doing that, I'm trying to come up with any last minute sort of scene ideas. Than that, I don't think I'll do much in terms of Nano prep today. Just any last minute scene ideas that might pop up, I'll write them down, and then I'm just gonna, gather up my energy and my focus to start writing tomorrow. And so of course I will vlog that experience as well. I'll vlog the entire month, hopefully actually finish challenge or write 50,000 words. Yeah, I think that's it for Preptober for me. I think I've prepped well enough. There will always be things that I wish I would have prepped, but to be honest, I like discovery writing. As long as I have some kind of skeleton plot, which I do, and some scene cards, I think that's enough to get me through at least the first 50,000 words. So yeah, I think that's the end of the vlog. I'm gonna end it here, and then of course I will, like I said, I will vlog NaNoWriMo, and hopefully that'll be successful. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed my Preptober vlog. And if you are doing NaNoWriMo when this video comes out, you will probably be already started doing it. So good luck, and grab your coffee, grab your tea, or whatever fuel you need, and write those words, and I'm sure you will finish 50,000 words, and you will have an awesome draft 0 or draft 1 or whatever you want to call it for your next best-selling novel. Yes, that is the hope. I'm kidding, but yeah, I honestly hope you guys have a great NaNoWriMo, and I think I'll just end this vlog here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! What is going on behind me? Okay, maybe I should go back to watching that.